And all right, we should be live right now. So hey guys, now funny enough, no, a video and two streams today. Well, one of those streams wasn't on my channel. Those of you who are coming from Tug, hey, I hope. And I got my own feedback there, that kind of stuff. But yeah, man, I hope you guys are having fun. I mean, it's not very often I do a Thursday stream, but hey, here I am. Here I am. Hopefully, you guys are. I'm seeing very familiar names in the chat. Yeah, this is some good times, man. And this time around, I'm going to be talking about a book that, unlike most of the others I've been talking about, this one's actually done. Now, I still maintain that is a huge advantage when it comes to crowdfunding, because a lot of crowdfunding, I've been burned so many times. So I can get very picky with what I spend money on, because you got people like Zoe Quinn that just take the money and run. But this book, I mean, I have the physical book. I mean, it's done. It's shipping. So if you want to buy a book that's without the risk, hey, here you go. So you got Captain Luv, which is a sci-fi story about a space trucker a former war hero who is now a space trucker, and it has a very JoJo-inspired art style. I noticed if you look on the cover right there. So yeah, you want to actually take it away there, Drew. So yes. Oh, sorry. My guest today obviously is Drew, who is the writer and creator of Captain Luv, and. Yeah, take it away, man. If you want to, however you want to shill it, go.
All right. Well, we'll start with, like you said, Captain Luv is a space trucker and former war hero. He is accompanied by a rogue artificial intelligence named Spade, and together they, have adventures, solve problems, get into trouble. He really is like the kind that isn't trying to look for trouble, just kind of stumbles into it. He's very a reluctant hero. Now Spade, she's kind of interesting. She's actually a living AI, and she exists in multiple computers at once. So she actually lives in an audio and optical implant computer inside of Love's head that he got when he was injured in the war. And so she actually exists in that, also in the computer that runs as Hauler. And there's Hauler is the ship that's in the background behind them there. That's the Hauler. The Hauler is basically a character of itself, even though it doesn't have a personality or speaks. Spade speaks for the Hauler because she's inside the Hauler's computer. And then if anytime they go anywhere, if there's an open network and there's access to it, she can also jump into that computer and take it over, because that's what she was designed to do. She was actually originally designed to be a weapon of cyber warfare, and she because she became alive and became aware of how they were just going to use her as a war slave. She didn't want to be that. She wanted to have free will and want to make her own decisions. So she rewrote her own code and locked out all the scientists, and then they decided to try and kill her. And that's when she decided to escape, and she hijacked Love's head to get out of the science lab. That's basically a little bit of the story. I don't want to tell too much of, I might have already told too much, kind of spoilers, but it's even better when you read it yourself.
Oh yeah, and actually, I'm kind of pulling it out right now, and no, not that way this time around. But no, they got some good humor in this book too. I mean, I gotta say. Like asking, after they get attacked by pirates, and she's asking, does this happen often? And he's like, well, I guess depends on what you consider often. Or they kill anyone yet? Like, well, we haven't finished the conversation yet. I don't know. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I like comedy. To me, life has lots of subtle underlying comedy. I forget who I'm going to quote somebody, but I can't remember who it is I'm quoting. Basically, they say that those people who are driven by their emotions, life is a chore. Those people who are driven by their intellect, life is a joke.
Oh, that is true, because I mean, we could kind of reference the Joker then too. I mean, if you don't view it as a comedy, it'll be a tragedy.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Yeah, I forget who that originally quoted that, and I'm loosely summarizing the quote. But, yeah. So a lot of people, would wonder, what is the cleansing? The cleansing is the war between the corporation and the planets. Um, it is explained further in the book. I don't want to get to it too much, but that's how Love became the hero. So this whole book is the backstory of the character, how he meets Spade, who he is. Uh, Basically a lot of like like a legend that surrounds him is that he's can't die, like he can live forever, and that's because when he was in the war, he on leave. You can see a picture here of him walking down the beach. That he met this girl, they fell in love. She happened to be a voodoo princess. She cursed him to like where he could live forever. So it's
Yeah, I don't know if you want to give away that whole story though.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, no, it is a curse in a way, but not in the way you think it is. I mean,
Right.
it was a blessing that turned into a curse after events took place.
Yeah. Well, I do kind of overtell the story because the elements are, like people like what? I should probably just let people wonder and go and find the book and have to get their answers. But
Yeah, yeah, and again, the book's actually already done. If you go to Indiegogo, you follow the link in the chat. Actually, I'm just gonna copy that in now.
yeah, sweet.
Yeah, so if you go there now, you can you buy the book. It's gonna ship out pretty soon, right? I mean,
It will ship the next mailing day. I do fulfillment. You know what I mean? Obviously, and so it will basically when I get the order in. If it is like say in the evening, the post office is closed. It will be the next business day when the post office is open. If I get it in the morning while the post office is still open and I haven't gone to the post office yet that day, it will go that day. So.
yeah, absolutely perfect, man. So as you can kind of see in the screen there is this was during his little backstory because I mean he is a trucker now, but this from
Yes.
his days when he saved the solar system when he was in the military. It's that's what all that's about. So yeah, you got action. Oh, and so I got some super chats here that are pretty relevant. So Family of Six, thank you for the $2. How's the plot and backstory? RGE. Well, the plot and backstory is good enough in this book. I actually had to skip over a page because that probably would have given me a strike on YouTube. But yeah, I mean there's a few sex scenes in the book even. If that's what I mean, yeah, if that's what you're asking, that's what I mean. There's nudity, there is there are sex scenes. You can't see the penises and the vaginas, but you can see plenty of titties though.
Yeah,
That's,
yeah. I mean, if I didn't go, I mean, like for instance, I don't know how many of your viewers, how many people have read Saga. Saga actually shows penetration in their sex scenes in their comics. I figured I wouldn't go quite that far. I wanted to draw my line about the same place Heavy Metal Magazine drew their line, which was lots of boobies, lots of body on body, but no penetration being shown, because that kind of, to me, that crosses the line of mature to adult. So
yeah, and for what it's worth, this is one of those things. Maybe we're going to be seeing more of it, but. Man, at least when it comes to gaming, the industry is crippling all the stuff we actually want to see, like all the Japanese games, and then they advertise, oh hey, this game that has the most unattractive characters that you never want to see naked, we're gonna have sex in this game. Why would you? I mean, so you're changing genre to horror? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That I don't understand. I really don't understand why a lot of people try to do things like that. I think maybe it's just like that woke culture right now that we're dealing with. Because
the return of the Puritans. Yeah.
Well, I mean, let them. As far as I'm concerned, let them, because sex sells, and I'm happy to sell sex. So no one's gonna woke me out of my books. So whatever.
Yeah, about the only thing they could do is, I mean, their final resort, if all else fails, is they will try to cry to the government to get things flat out made illegal. Like, I would be willing to bet money that that's going to be their final final death throes. Are they going to start running around to the government? I mean, they're already succeeding in some. Was it like Tennessee? I think was trying to to force their ISPs to block all porn on all devices.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny how like everything is a catch-22. Like all these conservative judges that have gone into office will protect like everybody's who's got a libertarian mindset about their rights, you know what I mean? But at the same time, the flip side is, they're also hyper religious. So, they could do something like block all the porn on the internet.
Yeah, they only care about freedoms and rights when it's a very small list of specific freedoms and rights that they care about, but they're perfectly fine banning everything else. And they'll always, they'll just pull excuses out of their ass, like, oh, but this is degeneracy, it should be banned. And they're no different than the left-wing SJWs in this sense, where they're like, oh, but that's racism, it should be banned.
Right. Yeah. Extremism in any degree is wrong, I believe. I mean, except in entertainment. Extremism in entertainment is fine because it's entertaining.
Yeah. I mean, and especially when it comes to genres like comics and animation and video games, where you can do things that you can't do in real life. That's the whole point.
Right. I mean, exactly. I mean, it's like where else but like in sci-fi, I mean, you really, even in a movie, it's harder to do things that you can do with a comic book. I mean, you got to think of all the CGI and all that kind of stuff because it is just too expensive, or the technology doesn't exist. I mean, like for instance, James Cameron talked about how he couldn't make the movie he wanted to make for Avatar until the technology exists to do it right. So, but that could have been a comic long before it was a movie, you know what I mean? So, although it might have spoiled the story, it was good. There was a lot of surprises in that.
Yeah, no, I mean that's also one of the reasons why I like animation more than live action, specifically for that reason. Now, you can do things in animation where everything is. I mean, even with CG, there's only so far you can push human bodies and live actors.
Right.
But with animation, though, I mean, fuck, there are no limits. But then you got these politicians trying to force limits, and these SJWs trying to force it via censorship. But like, I'm not putting up with that.
Yeah, I'm not even sure it's the politicians trying to force it. It's kind of like special interest groups. They all have like hidden agendas. It blows my mind how like I keep like when I research a special interest group, because I'm curious about this new one that I've heard of or whatever. And so I like do a little bit of research, just enough to quiet my curiosity. And I find how so many of them like have this like surface layer that makes it seem like they're doing something good. But then when you dig deeper, you find out that the people that have put money into them, right, actually have an agenda that is cross supports. You know what I mean? It's
they virtue signal. That's all it is. I mean, and as I've mentioned multiple times, I've never met a virtue signaler who's actually a good person. Just like how I've never met a good person who feels the need to virtue signal. So they use emotional manipulation to get people. I mean, like every time they try to destroy the internet, they always use either one of two things. It's either, oh my God, think of the chillins. Or it's, oh, but terrorism, national security. And they always use one of those two things. And then people are like, oh, I guess we have to give the government complete control of the internet. Because, I mean, I want to protect the children after all. I want to fight terrorism, of course.
Right. Or they'll like claim some kind of victimhood and do crocodile tears. You know what I mean? And it's just,
yeah, that's what the ones I mentioned, that's what the right wing does. It's think of the chillins or like national security. Yeah, the left. Yeah, they have the professional victims. And instead of they couldn't care less about the children. I mean, a lot of them are pushing to legalize, certain things that, even the mention of will probably get me banned. But they're trying to do so their replacement for the national security is really just professional victimhood. Like, oh, look at these poor victims. And then it's think of the women instead of think of the children. It's like, oh, these evil, toxic males are oppressing women. We gotta completely destroy the internet because some woman got her feelings hurt.
Yeah, well, what I've discovered is the hyper. I mean, there was always extreme left, you know what I mean? But it seems like the extreme left got bigger and louder because of how the media, the mainstream media, would highlight the hyper extreme right, which always made the hyper extreme right look bigger, which made the hyper extreme right get bigger, which actually made the right get. I mean, and if you look at history, you know, this is because of the way that news was covering, you could say the most extreme right politics, um, trying to put a negative light on it, but basically covering the most extreme stuff. Because of that, every political cycle, it seemed like the politicians on the left moved a little bit to more center right, and the politicians on the right moved even more right because they're worried about primaries. You know what I mean? And so it's like the whole thing shifted, and then we ended up with like all these moderate Democrats and all these Republicans jumping ship and becoming independents. And then now, because that got so extreme, it's almost like what was the Birch Society took over, the base and the Republican Party, which drives me freaking nuts. Now because of that, and the media covers that almost all the time since the Tea Party movement, the left has grown way massive on the extreme side in retrospect, trying to.
Oh man, I would actually say it's even funnier because it's the left is actually shrinking right now, but it's because the party, the Democratic Party, is going towards the extreme, like the most extreme regressive social justice aspects of it, and to the point that moderate or even what would have been considered a more left-leaning Democrat they're now called alt-right Nazis. They're pushing actual left leaning. They are so far left. They're pushing left leaning Democrats into the Republican Party.
Yeah. Well, see, they're leaning. They're leaning so far left that they are almost doing the things that the right was accusing them of doing before they were doing them. You know what I mean? Like what the right attacks used to be, oh, you're indoctrinating children and this kind of stuff. And it's gotten so extreme that now some of that is actually true, and on the right, I mean, they actually have people killing abortion doctors and stuff. You know what I mean? So it's,
Yeah.
it's gotten out of control crazy on both ends.
Well, yeah, because you got the sensationalist media hyping it up, but
Exactly.
I will say I understand why they do what they do, though, like with the whole indoctrinating children angle, because I mean, look at it. Imagine this was like 20 years ago when these people actually were. I mean, that's before gay people could even get married, right?
Right.
They remember that fight, and they probably hold a grudge. And I'm not. And see, I could completely understand. So then they're like, you used your kids as a weapon to attack us. Because again, think of the children, right? It's like they use kids as a weapon. So how about if I take that weapon away from you? Let's take your kids and turn them against you. So
Right.
I can. I mean,
Yeah,
if this is
but now,
intentional, I can see
but
why
and
they
then
do it.
and yeah, but I mean, like, think about this. Okay, if back in 2008, when California started all this momentum, and I live here in California, I was here for all that. In 2008, when the Proposition 8 vote, was that 2008? Yeah, it was 2008. The Proposition 8 vote, started going forward. The the absolute insanity. The people were like, oh, this is going to happen and this is going to happen and it's going to be crazy and this is, these things are going to be tragic. And then some of those things actually happened, like, a cake manufacturer getting hauled into court because he didn't want to bake a cake for a gay wedding. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
and of course that only affects the Christian baker. I mean, none of these guys went to a like devout Muslim bakery and demanded the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
It's and I mean, and it's like, it's like crazy things like that. But then, I mean, even I could go on. There's so many examples in every direction, but but with the whole Proposition 8 and all that kind of stuff, what, like for instance, if you were to show, and those people, like, if the right was to, show, like, maybe drag queens reading story time in schools, they might have had, a difficulty selling that argument. Or if they were to show how little boys are given gender pills and doing makeup tutorials on YouTube at age 8 and 9 years old before they've even identified, themselves. You know what I mean? Um, if they, saw that, they would realize that that has gone to an extreme that might be unhealthy.
Well, that's death by a thousand cuts. I mean, this is the same thing that the left are trying to do. I mean, when they're trying to take our guns away, they'll always say, "Oh, we're not trying to take them away. We just want common sense regulation." Yeah, just like the UK. The UK took guns away one common sense regulation at a time.
Yeah, well, the UK, took some guns away. You know what I mean? There's still like areas, that in the UK where you can still get guns, to my understanding. But here, a lot of the people that are pushing for the anti-gun thing, are very urban environment people. They don't understand anything but urban environments or a very secure environment. You know what I mean? You can't have a secure environment everywhere, especially out in the middle of nowhere. I lived out in the middle of nowhere for a while. I used to play in a rock and roll band, and we were based out of Ohio, and like New Bavaria, Ohio, which is a 30-minute drive from the biggest town nearest it, which was Defiance, which isn't that big. If you have a situation going on, you want to make sure you have as much firepower as you possibly can collect, because you don't know what you're going to run into. I have seen situations, not firsthand, but I have seen the aftermath of some situations that happened when I lived there, just the few years that I lived there, that were insane. 4 or 5 guys in a van jumping out with all kinds of weaponry, onto a household, and doing horribly things that I can't even begin to explain. I mean, those things really happen, because it's
and even in the city, though, it's not really a secure environment. The cops show up after you're dead. That's
right.
That's what they don't understand. The cops aren't there to protect you. They're there to clean up the mess and enforce other laws. But then it gets even funnier too. I mean, because I'm willing to compromise with these guys. If the left wants to ban guns and the right doesn't, I say, okay, fine, make it illegal for a leftist to own guns. Problem solved.
You know what? Here's how I would agree. I would say, okay, you know what? You want to ban guns? Let's make it this way. Let's you can ban guns however you want to ban guns, but I should be able to be equally as armed as the police. As whatever you let the police carry, I should be able to carry. You know what I mean? I should be able to have as the stockpile of weapons that the police station has. You know what I mean? If it's good for the police, it should be good for me. That's where I would say that's fair. I don't need to have more than the police. I don't need to have 5 or 6 tanks in my backyard. I don't need to have major assault weaponry. You know what I mean?
And the thing is, even that. I mean, if you look at back to the Revolutionary War. But in that era, the most powerful weapons of that age were pretty much like big ass fucking warships with a bunch of cannons on them. Mm-hmm. Private citizens and organizations owned those, and somehow we weren't just massacring each other, but like they try to fearmonger. But got super chat. So Alex Hale, thank you for the 5. Just watched Lost Pause's new video, and he's sending more people to upvote interspecies reviewers, and the My Anime List mods are a little salty. Yeah, that's it. That's some good shit going on now. It's only a matter of time until they lock it down or something, though. But we'll see. But yeah, I mean, there used to be a time when people. I think the only difference now is some weapons, like say if we talk about nukes. Mm-hmm. You give one person the ability to kill millions at with just with the press of a button. That could not end well if there's no counter to it is the problem, because there are ways you could avoid being hit with a fucking with a broadside from a battleship, but with a nuke, if you got someone who doesn't care about their own life and they're willing to do it, there's no defense against it. That's really the only difference with some weapons we have now.
Yeah, once we crossed the atomic weaponry line, that changed warfare forever. So,
Yeah, and that's one of those things too. Like, they can't stop it though. As technology gets better and better, eventually anyone with the knowledge and the ability to create or access all the materials they need could just create a nuke in their garage.
Well, I mean, one of the reasons why it's actually, I don't know if it's talked about much, but to some degree, it is energy production is a controlled thing. And the reason why energy production is controlled is if somebody discovers a way to produce energy that is uh, exponential. You know what I mean? Something along the lines as like the arc reactor in Iron Man, or you know what I mean? You know what I mean? If somebody discovers that and it's not controlled by the government, that could produce an unprecedented amount of weaponry. And you could think about the damage that lasers can do. I mean, if you, I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen like the modern lasers that are not just like laser pointers, but like actual like
Oh,
heat
I did.
lasers.
No,
Yeah,
and see, the thing is, you could do just as much damage with water if you have a concentrated enough stream of. They cut steel in with water in
this is
factories.
this
So
is this is true. Yes, yeah, with enough pressure, water can be very dangerous. Yeah,
yeah, and that's one of those. I mean, because I don't trust the government to have a monopoly on that, though. That's the funny thing is, all these people that they want to disarm everyone. Oh, only the government should have this. Like, well, what if the government turns on you, and
yeah.
then,
You know
then
what?
you get Venezuela?
I would have more trust in the government if the government wasn't financially motivated individually. You know what I mean? Like because it's limited. You know what I mean? Because of the nature of money and politics, because of the nature of corruption, how lobbyists work. All those motivations. The revolving door in Washington. There's so many things like that. I mean, if you took the power lust out of the equation, the greed out of the equation, then
Yeah.
the people that would do it because they want to help their fellow man. The same reason why a lot of people, maybe they do get some power out of it, like in a church. You know what I mean? The
Yeah,
preacher gets
unfortunately, there's no way we can filter that. I mean, even like saying I would be okay just making everything a meritocracy, but even that would only work one time. Because
right.
after the first time, the people who get into the positions of power will
Hold it forever.
yeah,
Yeah.
they'll fudge things to make sure that they and their family will have advantages in the future. But no,
Yeah.
my whole thing too, though, is the government's problem is like, say, how much money would you spend if you knew that you could spend infinite money? Like, if you, that's what the government's doing. Like, they don't care how much debt they get into. It's like, oh, we're just going to milk our pay pigs and raise taxes again if it becomes an
Yeah.
issue.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of conspiracy and discussion involved in government spending. There's the whole concept of we think they spend a lot more because they over overemphasize their budgeting because they want to filter money into other things. There's a whole that's conspiracy. There's no evidence to that we can see. You know what I mean? There's the whole
Well, I mean, I
special
work.
needs projects.
I work for the government, and a good 90% of federal employees are bloat.
Right.
Like, they're good at wasting. No, it's wasting money and lack of account. See, the lack of accountability is the big thing right there. Is if they, how do we hold them accountable if they misspend our money? What do we do?
Well, that's why I was like, if when I say, take the money out of politics, obviously, when you're forced in a situation where you can't just be slopped and paid off, to look the other way, those kinds of things eventually get cleaned up. You know what I mean? That's where I'm at on that. I mean, obviously, I'm not saying that's the end all do all fix everything, but I mean that seems like it's the right first step. You know what I mean? Can change the motivation of why you're in politics in the first place.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, I've always said too that the only good leaders are those who don't want that position. But how do you force those people to take it? I guess that's the question. Especially if there's plenty of people who want it. I mean, that's another one too. I've never seen people who wanted power over others.
Well,
I've never seen people like that I'd want to give power over me in any way. They're all horrible, evil people.
there will always be people that that will be horrible and evil and want power. Those people will always exist. What what the government has to do is somehow figure out a way to structure themselves to where those kinds of people don't have an advantage. But
But
that won't
those
that,
kind
that
of
won't
people are the government. That's
I'm
the
saying, yeah,
problem.
exactly. The problem is the government self-governs, and those kinds of people are running the government right now. So they're not going to change things because they're running the government. You know what I mean? So
Well,
it's
we have our answer though. I
yeah,
mean, going back to the founding fathers, the people were. I mean, that's why we have a This is actually the reason we have the Second Amendment. It's not so we could protect ourselves from criminals. Well, that too, but it's so we are the final check on the government's power. But after 200 years, they've indoctrinated everyone in the school system to, well, violence is never an option. Oh,
yeah,
but what if the cops use violence to fight the criminals? Oh, that's
yeah,
perfect. That's fine.
yeah, exactly. Violence is never an option. Then why is it the first step with a policeman?
Yeah.
Why is it a policeman's first step, and why is that okay with everybody? Unless you're, you know what I mean? No, violence is usually supposed to be the last resort, but sometimes you're starting with the last resort. You know?
Yeah, and if nothing else, I mean, I'm not advocating you do it. I'm saying the threat of it is usually. I mean, we saw that with the Bundy Ranch. The
Right.
government was blatantly overstepping their power, and the people got together and said, "Fuck you, we're going to fight to the death." And the government blinked and backed down. If more people were willing to do that, we could keep the government in check.
Yeah. Well, especially the situation, like that, the government made the call that, now here's the thing. I don't think that would have gone the same way if, like, say, the current president was president at that time. I think he would have said, "Oh, you guys are going to stand up to me. Watch what I do." You know what I mean? So I think that it really comes down to who's leading, whether or not that kind of particular situation goes good or bad, But I think the government made the decision at that point to just back down because it wasn't worth driving that to violence. That they eventually people would clear out and they could just address it in courts again. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
but
but people have to be willing to. I mean, you don't start with it, but the other side has to know the threat is always there. I mean, that's how the government treats us. If you I mean, try not paying your taxes and see what happens. Like they always have that threat of armed men showing up at your house and locking you in a cage.
right.
But the problem is we don't reciprocate that. Where, oh, if you step on our rights, we will defend them.
Well, the truth of the matter is, that is the reason why the Second Amendment exists. Like you said, if the government goes too far, people will rise up, and that will happen. You know what I mean? The reason why reason why a lot of people on the left want to take guns away is not just because of school shootings. It's because they want to do things that the people who have guns don't want to happen. Like that ranch. I mean, the people who ran the ranch were wrong. I mean, they really did owe money, so, but they just didn't care because,
well, it's not that the own money. It's the fact was the whole thing started when some of their cows went on government land.
mm-hmm.
And then the government's response was, "Oh, we're taking all your fucking cows." Like, well, no, fuck you are. Now, if you want to handle this in court, we'll handle it in court. But if you because this is a rancher's livelihood right there. They're just saying that, like, oh, one of your cows stepped on our land, which we didn't have fenced in or anything, and
so my understanding, and I mean, obviously I could look into this deal, but I mean, when it was going on, when I was following it, my understanding of the situation is it first started where he was letting his cows go over and graze on the government land. The government said, "No, we told you can't come on this land. You have to put up a fence on your side. If you want to come on our land, you have to pay the fees to come on our land." And he wouldn't pay the fees, and they kept coming on the land, and he wouldn't pay the fees, and they kept coming on the land. So that they warned him that they would confiscate the cattle if they continue to come on the land. And he just, said, eat shit. I mean, never accepted any of the warnings, any of the, that kind of stuff. So, and then it just accelerated. You know what I mean?
Hey, even if that's true, I mean, I think it's the government's responsibility to to fence their land in at that point.
I would agree. However, that particular land follows I believe the forestry laws, and you can't fence in. So there's catch-22 in the government. They couldn't do that legally.
Yeah, and then actually, what state that was?
That was Nevada.
Nevada. Yeah, yeah. So the problem with, and see, here's another problem. If you look at a map and you see, government owned land, the government owns most of the land in quite a lot of those western states, and that's I mean, actually, don't. This is a separate rant, but
well, the government owns a lot.
You as a citizen, you don't own your home.
Well, national forests, are protected, and we actually have Theodore Roosevelt to more or less thank for that. As long as we can continue to protect them. I mean, we do need those. We do need to protect. I mean, we can't just exploit every inch of land, because then we won't be able to live on this planet anymore. It's like, it's like you can't spend all your money and not buy groceries.
Yeah, actually, no, looking at that, the vast majority, almost all of Nevada is federally owned land. Mm-hmm. What sort of resources and national forests are in Nevada? It's all barren for the most part. And the most of the state is federally owned land.
Yes, a lot of it is national monument, like the Grand Canyon. There are a lot of you can say aquifers. You know what I mean? That water runs through, that they control. There is also a lot of military stuff there, where they used to do nuclear stuff and underground nuclear testing, and
that is Project Manhattan and all that.
And then there's also areas that are not marked as such, but are underground waste disposal.
Yeah, that's an interesting plight there. I mean, I guess this is no different than like with the Amazon, for example. Yeah, there's people are saying, "Oh no, we can't. We got to stop the deforestation." But the people actually living there, they're taking it out either to expand their own living spaces or to clear out some danger to them.
Right.
So what do you do? I mean,
I mean, seriously, what you do with deforestation, you think of an alternative building method. If you're going to remove a bunch of trees and put buildings there, then you also want to make sure you put a shitload of plants on those buildings and around those buildings, and maybe make those buildings, covered in foliage to where they're producing, replacement oxygen for all those trees you're knocking down. But if you just go and knock down all those trees and just put down a concrete,
I don't think it's not about so much deforestation. It's a specific habitat that may have some rare creatures in it.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That's So what do you do? I mean, people live there. And see, and this is another first world privilege we have here. The U.S. loves to talk shit to like Brazil. That, I can't believe you're allowing this to happen. But look at what you did in your. It's the same thing with emissions.
Yeah,
like, look at India and China and all their emissions. And India and China are like, you went through your industrial revolution 100 years ago, and you think you get a pass now? Like this.
Yeah, no, we don't deserve to point our finger. However, we should be able to at least communicate, hey, we learned from this. Don't make our mistake. Let us help you not make our mistake. You know what I mean?
That's the part right there. It's the what are we doing to help? That's
right.
The only thing the reason that I hate a lot of these green initiatives is it's all a corporate, it's a money grab. Like the whole carbon tax trading thing, the big corporations supported that so they can get more money.
Yeah,
like that's all that is. It's just another power and control and money grab.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not any worse than big oil. You know what I mean? Come on. Big oil has got to be the biggest money grab there ever was. I mean, all that oil belongs to the United States citizens. All the oil that they drill here. You know what I mean? That belongs to the people.
Well, maybe if the people were willing to, say this is ours and you can't touch it anymore, but I think
Well,
we've already established it's not going to happen.
oh no, I'm just, yeah. I mean, that's, you know what I'm saying. And same thing with, it's different if they own the land and the oil is in the land. You know what I mean? But when they lease the land from the government for $1 or whatever, you know what I mean? What when they lease the land from the government, a government should get, a percentage of the overall profits. I
Well,
mean,
but
that would make
see,
sense.
they won't though,
Oh,
because
of
like
course not.
it's the revolving door you mentioned earlier, and
Oh,
this is why I oppose regulation, because who regulates these industries? Why, they
yeah.
regulate themselves. The people on the regulatory board for big oil, for example, are all either current or former big oil executives.
Well, I don't know what state you live in, but if you lived in California, you would be a fan of some regulations because I like to breathe,
Mm.
and I live in the valley, and yeah, smog gets bad here in the summer, man. If
Well, I mean,
if there was no regulation, we would not survive.
well, I'm saying, how is the regulation working out for you, though? I mean, there's cities just as big as in
Not every
California.
not every not
Elsewhere.
every regu not every regulation is good. You know what I mean? But some of them are
Yeah,
not
no,
necessary.
that's see, and that's my whole thing too. Where the reason I'm against it is because the way it's implemented now. I mean, you may as well not have a regulation, because who ends up creating the regulations are the biggest players of the industry that's being regulated. And they
Yeah,
often abuse that too to make it so I mean, they purposely implement expensive regulations that they know they can afford, but they know startups can't. So they kill competition with it. And I mean, yeah, but then the flip side though, who else would do the regulation? Are you going to have people who don't even understand the industry trying to regulate it? I
well,
mean,
I mean, and you gotta look at who's in power when the regulation happens. You know what
yeah.
I mean? And then or who's in power when the regulation gets stripped back. You know what I mean? Because it's like you got to think because every regulation out there helps somebody. Now, there's some of them out there that are just stupid. I agree. They just help more people put money in their pocket. But that's like a small percentage of the overall regulations. There's a lot of regulations out there that are out there to protect things that most of the country treasures. Yellowstone Park. That's a national treasure. There's things that are happening there now that we don't get to hear about because there's like a hush hush in the whole. There's a lot of hush hush stuff going on anyway. I just get frustrated because there's nothing I can do about that stuff. You know what I mean? And the logic is obviously, to get people in power that do the right thing. However, when we're voting for people and you have uninformed voters, people who don't have the desire to sit down and absorb all the information that's relevant to them.
No, it's not even just that. It's that there's no good options. Like the type of people who wants to be in power, even those that may delude themselves into thinking they're doing the right thing, like they torment you with the approval of their conscience. They're all evil. The only people who I would want having any power over my life are people who don't want power over my life, and those people aren't running for office.
This is true. The okay, so like the worst thing that I think that happened is when the senators became elected. Because
Yeah, the state legislature was supposed to appoint them.
yes, they
Yeah.
were supposed to be appointed by the state legislature, and that makes a difference because politics should be driven locally. You know what I mean? When politics go national, like I don't think that people should be able to put money into an election that is not something you can vote on. Like I should not be able to give money to a congressman that I don't get to vote for. You know what I mean? I don't think that's fair because that's not my election I'm giving money to. You know what I mean? That's not my it might affect me a big picture. It might affect my business because he might do some kind of regulation, that kind of stuff. However, one man, one vote. That's how this country is.
Well, oh, and then at the federal level, though, I mean, you're right. I mean, it should be local, but then when you get to the federal level, you got to. I
We
mean,
got
was
we
it
got one we got one federal election for us. We vote for president, we vote for Congress. Those are our federal elections. Those are
yeah,
us.
what,
And then those people who we vote for at the state level, or well, now that we have a senator as well, but but if the Senate was still appointed by the state, then the only times that we had to do is the congressmen, who there's enough congressmen to go around where they're responsible directly to us. They still kind of are. I mean, to some degree.
Well, no, but the problem is having. So the problem with the federal level politicians is, like, say, either the House or the Senate. I mean, Congress's approval rating is always like in the single digits. Everyone hates Congress, but if you notice, but most people love their own congressman. That's a fun, and see, the reason for that is pork barrel spending, where all of these congressmen, while they're there, they work these deals out that benefit their constituents at the expense of everybody else. So their constituents love them, everyone else hates them. And that's actually what brings in a lot of the bad blood. It's the same thing like with like we mentioned at the very beginning. You got urban people dictating how rural people get to live, and that's going to cause a lot of resentment.
Yes, very much so. Yeah, I've seen that firsthand. And then you got urban people with an arrogance about their philosophical position. They think, well, we're more educated, we know better. And it's like, no, you just have a different experience, so different.
No, my favorite are the pacifists that don't realize they can only be a pacifist because someone else is committing violence on their behalf.
Exactly. That part is the most ridiculous to me. It's like, okay, you're a pacifist until there's no police.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, or military. Well, I can get some super chats here. So, Attack Helicopter, thank you for the 5. Never give up your First and Second Amendments. Greetings from Germany. We're already fucked. Yeah. Yeah. I'm apologize, man. Yeah. Now, see, that's a funny situation there too, where you got to I think the government's main purpose should be to protect the people living within that country from foreign enemies. And in Europe, you got their governments opening the gates and just throwing their own people under the bus. Yeah. And DCV Titan, thank you, the 5. Oh, there appears to be an Azure Lane game coming to Steam, plus Demon Ex Machina coming to Steam. Yeah, my only worry about that is it was originally on the PlayStation. So I just assume it's been censored is all I'm going to say. But it could be good.
Here's the thing with the new VR that PS is coming out with. They have actually advertised that they're going to be doing games directed towards our mature audience. And
this is the same company that's censoring anime games, though. So fuck them. I'm not going to. I don't trust them.
No. So like they already. I mean, they already have like people who do virtual reality porn already. They already have them having games in development right now. These exist. They're in development. PS is investing the money into it. Sony is putting the money up. It's a real thing, but you gotta think business mind. Okay. They're not going to do anything that maybe seem as if it's for children, to have conflict, because those parents who have to buy it are are the ones that they're worried about, because they got emotional mothers who are going to flip out. You know what I mean? Oh, my kids have to be prepared. I got to stay innocent. You know what I mean?
That doesn't work anymore because none of those games are sold in stores. So I mean, they can't. I mean, no ignorant mother is going to be buying that game for her kid unless she's specifically on a porn site. Like, that argument doesn't fly anymore, but they still keep using it. Like that's the.
Well, I'm just saying that's their argument, and that's their mindset. Whether it's the reality or not, it's irrelevant. That's the mindset of the business people in the game there.
See, and meanwhile, I'm just going to get all my VR from PC, where it's an open platform without a censor that's standing in the way. So, yeah, I mean, I think consoles need to die. All of these walled gardens. Even like Android phones, like that's the perfect compromise. Google gets to police what's on the Google Play Store, but they can't stop you from installing your own software. You get the APK, you can install whatever you want on an Android.
Yeah, but you can also get a virus on your Android phone in a real easy, bad way.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've been using
At,
PC for like
at
30
least,
years. Yeah,
yeah, at
I
least,
prefer the freedom though.
yeah.
That's the
Well,
thing.
I'm just saying, at least Apple has that feature where you can turn off the government's ears.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't do that. Android doesn't have that feature. So.
Well, I mean, do you believe Apple's actually doing it though?
Yeah,
That's
I know.
the
I,
question.
I
Yeah.
I I I know that they're doing it. I've seen the difference in the kind of stuff that popped up in the data collection. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see, and that's another thing too. You can see what your device is sending and receiving. I blocked a whole bunch of sites at the router level. Like, it doesn't go through my network at all. That's what I mean. Most people aren't tech savvy enough to do that, but most of those people, everyone likes to freak out, say, "Oh, the government's spying on me." Like, well, what are you doing exactly? I mean,
Yeah.
they've been spying on you for a while,
Yeah,
actually.
they've been spying on you since 2001. But the truth of the matter is that even though they're spying on you, it doesn't matter because they can't filter your individual bullshit out. They can only go
Yeah.
back and look at it later if they're interested.
Yeah, no, that's God. No, 'cause I work in this industry actually, so I've been saying the same thing. It's they. That's why the NSA has that giant fucking storage center. It's because yeah, they may store everything that's ever happened on the internet, but they can't analyze it all. So it's one of those things where if you get on their radar and they dig deeper into you, then they're going to look at some of the stuff they collected on you. So
Yeah.
the strategy is to not get on their radar. Yeah.
However, if you use certain apps, you will find that advertisers are sold things that you say, browse, all that kind of stuff, because they work in the background and collect the information. You agree to it if you install those apps.
Yep.
And
And
they run in the background, they collect your information, they store it, they feed it out. And that, my friend, is why people will be on the phone talking about something, drop a few keywords, and then next thing they know, they're checking their email. And what the fuck, you know?
Yeah, no, and see, that's another funny thing too. Is you realize the government can go to those ad agencies and get the information too. I mean,
Yeah. If they want to profile you, because that's all it is it's profiling. Yeah.
yeah, you can learn some things, but I mean, if
Somebody's spamming you with some was that Chinese?
oh yeah, it's one of the spammers we always get. They'll be shot down soon enough. Yeah, that's actually why I added a whole bunch of mods specifically because I mean, I used to have very few of them, but now yeah, that's spammers keep showing up. So
What is that? What good does that do them at all?
I don't. Well, I guess it's I used to think. I mean, everybody hates spam emails, right?
Right.
So why do people keep doing it? That's because boomers exist and they click on this stuff. That's why. If people didn't click on it, it wouldn't exist. That's the unfortunate thing.
How many boomers are in your chat?
Well, not in my chat, but all they see is, oh, there's a stream with 227 potential targets. I mean, they don't do more research. Although, if you want poetic justice. So you'll love this story, I bet. So there was actually this guy in Canada because he ran one of like the 10 biggest internet like email spam networks in the world, and he got doxxed. So and then his address got out, and so what everybody did in revenge is they signed him up for every magazine and like every physical form of spam possible. And he had like 3 mail trucks delivering mail to his house every day.
I love that. That's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's poetic justice.
You know, this would be a good segue to, since we have a lot of people watching right now, to just kind of refresh the audience on Captain Luv and let everybody know, since we're looking at the cover right here. If you look next to the cover where you have the variant sitting there, both the original cover and the variant are available for $20. Now the shipping is included in that $20. I want you to understand, if you pay $20 for that book right there, you don't have to pay a shipping charge in addition to that $20. The shipping has been worked out, and unless you're out of the country. If you're out of the country, I discount the cost for shipping that I put on it domestically.
And once to reiterate once again, the book already exists too.
Yes.
I actually, and the camera's not on, but I have it right here. I actually have the book, so it does exist. Yeah, you order it now, you could get it shipped out. So I mean, yeah, I guess we would talk about politics for like half an hour. So yeah, no, let's get to why we're really here again. Yeah,
No,
actually,
we could go on politics and religion and philosophy like forever with me, man. It's forever. Um,
yeah, no, I'm trying to I'm maneuvering my screen a little bit here, so I need. Oh, actually, no, are you showing yours there?
yeah, no, I was bringing something up to refer to in a minute.
Yeah, 'cause I'm trying to avoid that one specific panel that may
Oh,
get me
the Planet
uneasy.
Venus one?
Yeah,
Yeah, that one. There
yeah.
actually is no nudity on that panel. It's
Well,
just
it's
implied.
it's still enough for YouTube though. I mean, and I get my videos demonetized when I just show an anime girl with big enough titties. I mean,
Really? They're that hardcore on you?
yeah, but I can do this instead. Maybe I can scroll through some of them. Or yeah, there we go. So yeah, we got the no. So actually, well, what's in the special list? No, that's the
Okay.
featured here.
So the Captain Special is both books and all 9 of the trading cards. Okay, and the trading cards are beautiful. I mean, they're not like some kind of. I mean, they're
Oh,
actual trading card. They're actual trading cards. And so they have the full color, beautiful fronts, and then another pictures and little facts about the characters. And these are just the first set of 9. Every campaign that I do with Captain Luv, there'll be new, fresh trading cards also. And that's another thing to think about. It's like he was talking about how the book is already done. The book is already done. When I go to a campaign, the campaign that I'm actually whatever product I'm pushing in that campaign, like I'm getting ready to launch another one soon for chapter 1 of the next book. By the time I launch that campaign, chapter 1 will be done and ready to go to print. So when the campaign's finished, all that has to, basically it's a pre-order thing, and then I just take the finished product, send it to print. When the printing comes in, which is usually like 2 weeks or less, then I start shipping. So it is not even a long wait during the campaign before so it's like if you don't have to wait with me, that once it goes in demand on a campaign, you're going to get your books. It's going to happen. And these books are done. They're ready. He didn't have his to show, but I have mine right here. I always keep some right here on my desk. They are ready to go. And the books are numbered, collector's items, exclusive from the campaign. The variant cover is exclusive only to this campaign. I'm not going to be doing the variant on any other of the campaigns. So if you want that variant cover, you got to get it through here. Or if you see me in person, obviously I'll sell you one in person. But the Captain Special is both covers, the original cover and the variant cover, and all 9 trading cards. That just the book is the original cover with the shipping included. The variant cover is obviously the variant cover, $20 shipping included. Signed copy is the original cover, signed with the shipping included. The next one is the $30 period. That is 1 original and 1 variant. That's like the Captain Special, except there's no cards. And then 2 books with 1 signed, self-explanatory. They're both the original cover, 1 signed. 1 isn't, for those people who want to collect one and mangle the other to read. The $40 tier is the original cover and all 9 trading cards. 1 of everything is both covers, a t-shirt, and a 3-pack of the trading cards, random 3 of the 9. And then the collector's pack is a signed copy, an unsigned original cover, an unsigned variant cover, a t-shirt, and all 9 trading cards. So,
all right, and that one there's a limit on, huh? Actually, I noticed too the numbering of the books. There's 800 of them I see in the print run, huh?
yes, that is correct. And only the ones that get through here actually get numbered. So like when I go to a convention and I have books right now, the books I have to sell are from the first run, and in the inside the books, just so there is here in the publisher's text, it does say that it's the first run, so it'll always forever be referenced only as the first run. And the beauty of that is, as other variant covers come out and all that kind of stuff, they will not say the first run. So this will be the first. The first run books are still available. There's 800 of the original cover and 200 of the variant cover, and then when those are gone, first runs are gone and forever. So
all right, cool. I actually got from Gongravar. Thank you for the $75, man. Good morning from Athens. Have a good one, dude. Man, much appreciate that. Sending me some shekels from Greece too. Dang, yeah. I remember. Actually, with Streamlabs, I can see what your actual identity is. So yeah, man. Thank you again. This dude drops some big numbers from time to time. I definitely appreciate that. And Fanman56, thank you for the 2. Just got to 50 subs. Thanks, RGE and Tug are awesome. Yeah. I mean, Tug was great too. Yeah, that's probably going to be a good show. He wants to do them every Thursday now, I think. So.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
The laughing at stupid thing. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, well, that's mostly of what my streams are. my regularly scheduled ones. Yeah. So I'm probably going to do a comics one for Tuesdays. And I don't know, Ryan Jill just wrenched someone on Axe. See, that's the problem when these spammers show up. I mean, right. If you do streams yourself, you'll probably notice that too, because they show up and they spam the chat and you go to block them. But then someone else gets there first and it completely shifts the entire chat. So you click on the wrong person.
Yeah. So one mod hits it, the other mod hits somebody else by mistake. That's funny.
Yeah. And it's actually, no, you experience this yourself when you browse the internet, I'm sure. That you ever have that happen when a website's loading and you see your link and you go to click on it, but something above it loads and it moves it. Yeah.
Yes, that happens. And then there's actually I've seen websites and even built one once that had one little like feature that drove me nuts. It was a news thing that shifted the news, and so when the article got longer, like past the template, the standard base template, it would open it up more. So I would try to be reaching to click on something, and then the news thing would shift the whole page, and you're like, yeah. You know what I mean? And yeah, that was. I wanted to like fix that for them so bad, and they're like, no, that's how we want it. I'm like, you wanted to do that? Like, no, we want the news thing to do what it does, because they didn't care about the mobile version really as much as the desktop. And the desktop didn't really shift in a way that bothered things like the mobile version.
Yeah, no. See, for me, it's usually just when the website is first loading in and the images aren't loaded yet.
Right.
So whatever placeholder they have in the table for the image is way smaller than the image itself. So then I try to go click on my link and it just the image loads and then I click on an ad. Maybe that's why they do it unintentionally. But either way, you got to 4,906 now. So
yeah. Well, that's pretty funny because because it's really easy thing to fix. If your image is just going to default load to its size, you can run one line of code that identifies what the width and length of that image is before it loads in. You know what I mean? And then you can just preset that size as the page loads in before the image file pulls in itself. So. Yeah,
I mean, it's I've done a little bit of that. I mean, I'm a developer professionally, but I haven't done web for a while. But I remember even doing things like that when I was still. But actually, no. Remember when web browsers didn't eat up like 4 gigs of RAM? I mean, I think the internet has regressed backwards as far as. I mean, it looks flashier now, but it is so bloated.
Yeah,
I mean, JavaScript uses up so many resources.
I would agree that browsers are like almost have gone like backwards recently, but the same time is they're trying to build in security so they don't crash anymore, So
yeah, well, and not even security and bloating, unless you specifically get a browser like Brave that's all about privacy. Like Google Chrome, which I'm using right now, everybody knows it fucking spies on you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but unfortunately, they also have the best development tools. So everyone develops on Chrome. So Chrome is pretty much the only officially supported browser of a lot of sites, which really sucks. But
yeah, it does because of Google's reach and limited corporate understanding. if corporations understood things better, Microsoft never would have had a server platform. You know what I mean? Everybody would have gone open source. They would have gone Linux, Unix. You know, they would have never even bothered with Microsoft. But Microsoft has a better sales team, you know,
Yeah.
because Linux didn't have one. You know, so it just worked out that way. So everybody got their companies invested into the Microsoft server environment, the Microsoft coding environment, where you don't really have to use your brain to code as much, because you don't have to remember the variables or the elements at all, or you don't have to actually remember what the words are that trigger the code element within the code base, because they're all programmed into the software they want you to use. I think that it's very limited, because it doesn't encourage programmers to use independent thought as much and to troubleshoot. So,
Well, I think I think Microsoft products are a good middle ground, in my opinion, because on the one extreme you got Linux, where you have way more freedom and way more power, but you may also have to spend all day troubleshooting something that would have been 2 clicks on Windows.
if you're working on somebody else's code, that is correct.
Yeah.
If you're working on your own code, that's different. So yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're intimately familiar, that's true. But then on the other side of that, you got Apple, where you can't do shit.
Right. No, I know. I hate coding Apple. I won't do it. Everybody's asked me to try, and because they, I'm like, no, I don't want to do it.
No, my boss, thankfully he tripped over himself and got me out of coding for Apple, because he, for the longest time, he's like, oh, we need to make an iOS app for this, and I was refusing. I'm like, no, we don't. Nobody use. And then he finally had a case of someone wanted an iOS app. But a few days before, I was talking about making another Windows app, and he's like, oh, we're not going to waste everything's web-based now. We're going to do it on the web. So then he came to me, all happy, like, he finally has the gotcha to get me to do the Apple stuff. And I responded, like, I could just do that in a web app. Isn't that where the future is?
Yeah.
Well,
no, so like one of my clients, I mean, obviously my bread and butter business is I do a lot of different things. I do, consulting and marketing consulting and actually consulting for YouTube, believe it or not, because I've been doing YouTube since YouTube was a thing. So
does that mean we can blame you if the website sucks? I mean, I know full well they don't have to listen to you.
You can't blame me for YouTube's website sucking. You know what I mean? I haven't been working on YouTube like that. I do consulting for people who use YouTube, because I understand how the algorithm works and all that kind of stuff. And I've been around since before Google bought it. You know what I mean? Like long before Google bought it. In fact, back in 2005, I got an email from Chad invited me to check out his website called YouTube.
Man, unfortunately, a lot of that knowledge is probably gone now, because the website, I mean, comparing YouTube then to now, I mean, remember at first, YouTube response videos were a feature of YouTube. In current year, it's harassment.
Right. So like my information and my experience isn't limited to just that time period. It just started way back then. So I was actually there while YouTube has evolved from its infant stage to all the way now. So I understand like how the old school stuff works, like the core method stuff. I understand what they've changed. And so like when they make changes, I actually understand why they've made the change. And then if I don't understand, there's people I can call directly who, still work in, the YouTube, massive programming house, that they get, information they can share. You know what I mean? So
yeah, no, and that's worth a lot, right? I mean, YouTube and Twitter both. All these big tech companies, they don't even have call centers anymore. So I had an issue with Twitter, and they pretty much said, "Oh, you're just going to have to put in a ticket and wait a week, and maybe we'll get to it." And then they have no phone number for customer support. So
no, they don't.
I mean, honestly, if you have connections at YouTube, that's about the only way to get shit done in a timely manner on this platform.
Well, sometimes, I mean, it depends on what it is you're trying to get done, because there are some things that YouTube can't instantly correct. You know what I mean? It's just not designed to. Even if you had the CEO of YouTube itself saying fix this now, it still might take 2 or 3 weeks for them to even get it fixed. Um, the things that benefit me is that I've just been around so long that a lot of the stuff that people can do to make their channels better, you know what I mean? I'm it's like second nature to me. I understand it, and I can tell them exactly what it is. Like how I like so I actually do a service which I've been doing for a long time, but where I have clients that I help them set up their YouTube channel, help them set up their social media, help them understand how that stuff works together, educate them on building a channel, using what they're finding out what they're good at, helping them discover what they're good at, helping them shape their channel into something that grows and becomes something profitable or serves whatever their purposes is. I mean, that's something that I've been charging people for a long time, and I've had a lot of people be very successful. So
Yeah, cool. And I notice you're showing your pussy on screen right now too.
yeah, I love pussy.
Yeah. Oh, watch out! Now that can get you deplatformed in current year.
Cats. I mean,
yeah. Actually, no. While we're here too, I mean, I noticed you have the cover for the next book up. Whenever you want me to switch over to that.
Yeah, I was gonna at some point wanted to share that with people. We have on February 14th, Valentine's Day, the day of love. I am going to launch the mailing list for the chapter 1 from the next book. The next book is Captain Luv's Rise of the Pirate King, and chapter 1 is called The Dark Figure. This is the cover for the book. I'm not exactly sure I'm going to keep the title exactly like. I mean, it's going to be called that, but I might change the font. I don't know. I haven't decided. I like it like that, but I'm not exactly sure I'm going to stick with it yet. So here's the cover of the book. I'm excited for everybody to check it out. It's going to be fun. This is where the actual adventures begin. The current book. Now, for everybody who is curious about the Captain Luv thing, it's really important that if you are a comic book collector, you're somebody who prides themselves on finding quality comic books and getting yourself one when it's prime time, something you can brag on 10 years from now, you want to get an existing copy of Captain Luv, Hero of the Cleansing that is on Indiegogo right now. The first run editions, the numbered editions, those are going to be the ones that you want, because that is the backstory to this. If you don't get this book, you're going to wonder a lot of the stuff about Captain Luv that's explained in the backstory. So, yeah. So this one's going to be a real fun. It introduces a few new characters and a lot more pirates, a lot more fighting. More humor. You get to have some time experienced with banter between Luv and Spade. It's Barney, the mechanic. I like to think of Barney as like the spaceship Q. You know what I mean? The version of Q for like James Bond would be. Like he's Barney is to Luv as Q is to James Bond, kind of thing. He's the one that has all the gadgets and devices and works on the ship and makes this big brutal square hauler of his have insane maneuverability.
Yeah, and so, he does come in the first book too.
Yeah, I introduced him in the first book. He's actually in one of the trading cards, but he gets featured a lot more in this because Captain Luv's ship actually gets damaged a little bit in a battle, and he needs to take it for repairs, and so he takes it to Barney. So you get to see Barney's shop, all the little crazy ships Barney's got laying around his shop. You get to see, what is Ceres, the large dwarf moon and asteroid thing that I don't know what it's called. I don't know if they call it a dwarf planet anymore, but you know what I'm talking about, Ceres in the asteroid belt. That's his freighter, basically, which is up here. Barney's freighter actually orbits planet Ceres, dwarf planet Ceres, and Ceres is a mining colony. So that's where he meets these two cuties right here, and
And what about the one he met in the first book? Is she going to be coming back?
the doc,
I'm quite sure that she wasn't a one-off character. Yeah.
yeah, the doc girl.
Yep.
Yeah, the doc girl obviously will have to return. This is true. Yes, yes. She we still haven't named her. I still have not given her a name. She is just Doc Girl. Um, that obviously is part of the big picture of Love's emotional tragedy. He's not because his heart belongs to the one that cursed him. I don't want to drill into that too much, but he's incapable of having true feelings for another woman. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm excited. I'm excited for people to see, because this is how, I mean, these adventures are how I initially saw Love, but I had to tell the backstory first. I mean, you got to tell the backstory. You got to explain, why Love has a computer in his head, that talks to him and is sassy.
Well,
And
there's actually here's where we diverge in the way we're doing, because with Blade Devil we're actually going the exact opposite route. We're kind of doing like what Berserk did, if you read that manga, where we just dropping you right into the middle of the action, and then as the story progresses, you learn more and more about the past, and things are explained. Well, it remains to be seen how successful we are with that. But
well, no, that is a decent approach. I mean, obviously, it comes down to how you tell the stories. I mean, I obviously in my mind there was too many things to leave questionable. Like I still have the ability to go back and tell more backstory. You know what I mean? A whole lot of, I can go back and tell more. I mean, there's a lot more detail in all these subtle elements. I mean, that I can go back into and to drill into deeper. But the thing that I wanted to make, well, like for instance, when I first wrote this, Captain Luv, I mean, if you notice my YouTube channel, my Twitter handle, all that kind of stuff says The Drew Luv, right? By the way, if you are listening, you can find me at Twitter at The Drew Luv, on YouTube at The Drew Luv. You can go youtube.com/The Drew Luv and find me. So also on Instagram at The Drew Luv at Instagram. I'm
going to see a pattern here.
Yeah, there's a pattern there.
Yeah.
I had all that before I ever wrote the character. I used to do comedy on YouTube before 2014. YouTube had a whole advertising blow up before the official adpocalypse. It wasn't the official one. It was actually a preliminary to the official adpocalypse, but it still cut everybody's revenue back. And a lot of people just stopped uploading videos about 6 years ago. I mean, a lot of us just stopped uploading videos. At that time, I actually decided to write myself a 30-minute short sci-fi movie for myself, to act. And so, like, the initial character Love was based on elements that of a character, like what I thought, okay, this is what I would want to do if I'm acting in something. You know what I mean? And then that expanded into because I have a business partner with my media company. He actually more or less insisted I take that 30-minute movie and turn it into a full-length feature film that we can try and sell and produce. And then instead of me acting in it, hire an actor to do it. You know what I mean? And do it like that. And so he talked me into doing that, and I wrote the movie. And then when we were talking to a storyboard artist to do storyboards for us to help pitch the movie, he suggested to me that I tell the backstory that's not told in the movie. It's alluded to in the movie, but he said I should tell the backstory in a graphic novel. And I was like, I thought that was a pretty brilliant idea. I love comic books. I love graphic novels. I thought that I couldn't do a graphic novel unless I could draw. You know what I mean? And so as an author, approaching the graphic novel world was something that I had to really like learn on the curve on how to do things a little differently, how to gauge telling a story in panels, on a limited number of pages. You know what I mean? And it changed I had a new way of writing to make it happen. And so, yeah, I wrote this as the backstory, and then as it was coming to life, it was something that everybody was just, holy crap, I can't believe this. This is amazing. And so I decided, way before I even found Comicsgate, way before I even found a crowdfunding campaign or, any of that kind of stuff, way, way, way back, I decided to turn it into a series, So, so before I even started with this campaign out there, chapter 1 was already in production, at that time. Most of it was already illustrated, and some of it was even colored when I started my campaign for the book. And it's always going to be like that. So like this campaign, when it goes with chapter 1 right now, chapter 2 is in process of being illustrated right now. So when chapter 1 goes on and goes up for the campaign, that will be available. There'll be all kinds of extra goodies with it. Trust me, you're going to want it, but you're also going to want to have the original book. You're going to want the collector's items, because let me just say, there's nothing stopping me here. I am going to push this IP hard and heavy, use all my favors forever, and it's just beginning. I mean, I'm going to be doing conventions. I am going on as many live streams as I can. I'm making new friends, and this is going to blow up. 10 years from now, Captain Luv is going to be a well-known entity, and the book that's for sale right now, the first pressing of all this stuff, is going to be super valuable.
And if this book has way more action in it even than the first one did, I mean, there's a big gaping hole in the sci-fi or science fantasy rather sector where Star Wars used to be. So
yes, this is true. And like I said, I already have a movie written, and I even have somebody who said, again, I put the quotes up because nothing's real till money's in the bank. But he said that he would put up the bulk of the money that would be needed to raise more money, but to get the movie actually done on the smallest budget I could think of, and still without giving up quality, committed to that amount of money. Obviously, he'd get a huge return but to commit to that, I have to make the IP a little bit more successful. You know what I mean? And this is after I already decided to do it as a series, that that we found somebody who made that verbal commitment, and he's excited about so far the progress. So so let's say 2 or 3 books down the road, that might be 5 years from now, that movie will probably get made, and then Captain Luv will be huge. And who knows? I mean, you never know. I'm going to be at conventions. I'm on the waiting list right now for small press at Comic-Con in San Diego, and I've had someone tell me, again, nothing's real till it's real, but I had someone. Flash Gordon is actually one of the influences of Captain Luv, so I'm glad that he reminds you of Captain Luv. But I've had someone tell me that I might actually be able to get a booth in a little bit more high profile area at Comic-Con for free as a guest. They're not going to pay for my hotel, but I might get a free booth.
Oh, so is that one of those deals that I see that sometimes do, where you got like one big company, Orton, that just buys up a bunch of booths, and then you can kind of basically use their space? Is that?
Well, there's a lot of different things that go on like that. The offer I was told that I'm going to get is was an offer that was offered to somebody else. You know what I mean? And then through another friend, I basically am getting the hookup. You know what I mean? And what that would be is I would just be in a little bit a higher profile space than, like, say, Artist Alley or the small press area. The small press area.
Okay, yeah. So it's not like you'd be in the Marvel booth or anything,
right?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen them do that with some people, though. Like I said, like Marvel or DC would bring someone in who's technically, I mean, maybe not yet part of it, but
Right. Well, no, Image, all the publishers on the big publishers, all of them have a big area, and then they bring their authors and illustrators and anybody that they can bring in. They rotate them through on a schedule for signings and meet and greets and all that kind of stuff, and get them on panels and whatnot. Yeah.
Are you going to show up to the Comicsgate convention next year?
If it actually happens, I am going to be there with bells on, man. I don't care. I don't care how much it's going to tank me financially. I'm going to be there. So.
Oh, so speaking of finances, that's you alluded earlier too that you have a day job, and the fact that you have these books done when the campaigns go live, I mean, obviously, they've already been paid for.
This is
So,
correct.
so now this would you say? I mean, would you agree with me when I say this is how people in general should run their campaigns? Because there's a few people, sometimes they get lucky, but a lot of times, people they go all in on making a comic at the expense. I mean, like taking loans out and shit, and then they end up making like $2,000 if they're lucky. And
Yeah.
yeah.
It hurts. Yeah, no, it hurt. I mean, okay, so all right, so everybody's got to think about, if you want to have any kind of longevity in comics, I mean, especially if you're a small, person who's starting out, you got to think about it as a business proposition for yourself. You got to approach it as a business.
And so, it might take years to catch on.
It might take, and it might take years well, like, okay, it's like any startup business, right? You're supposed to think 3 years down the line before you're going to be significantly profitable. Hopefully in that 3 years, you're able to sustain, you know what I mean? But like, say if you got a small business loan, it's gonna take you time to pay that back. If you loan yourself money, it's gonna take time to pay that back. You know what I mean? So you got to think a long game, right? Now, if you're somebody as big and famous like Ethan Van Sciver, you have a different game. Tug has, a huge following of people. You have a pretty huge fan base. You might have a better chance also, when you roll something out based on your following, me, I have a comedy channel that had 10,000 subscribers, but guess what? None of them care about comic books.
Well, and plus, at least you're over $5,000 now. I mean, there's that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Am I over 5,000 now?
Yeah. 5,036. Yeah.
Holy. Awesome. I was at 47 something when we started this. So awesome. I want to thank everybody today who's backed. Thank you so much. You guys are all awesome, and keep doing it. Keep backing. Yes, I am happy to be over 5,000. That means that my printing is finally paid back. I mean, that's where I'm at with 5,000. That means the printing costs, because 5,000 really isn't 5,000 because Indiegogo costs
Indiegogo takes, I mean, 8% total, I believe. 5% Indiegogo, 3% payment processor, and then you got to pay your taxes and
right. Luckily with me, because I run a business the way I do, taxes, I get to handle that, at a loss, and that, I get to roll this in to my overall business tax. So, you know what I mean? I have because I've put more up front for this. And so, you know what I mean? This operates at a loss for me right now. So,
no, I understand, man. It's the same thing with Blade Devil that I'm working on. Right. We haven't. I mean, we're launching the campaign on March 1st, but until we got over 20 pages done at this point. I mean, it's not like you guys having the whole book done when you launch, but
right.
But a lot. I mean, I know how much money you got to pay into it. Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to
printed yet.
Yeah. I had invested $20,000 before I had launched the campaign for Captain Luv here at the Cleansing, and I'm not counting the money that I lost, the 10 grand that I lost on the original illustrator that I had to have it all redrawn. So in reality, I had spent $30,000 on the creation, marketing, everything to get it to, there's, a lot of little BS, and 2 illustrators that I lost money on. But seriously, right around $30,000. You know what I mean? And so it's I'm not gonna. I mean, like I said, I throw like 10,000 of that even out of my thought process because I feel that as like a learning error that I did. Like trusting somebody I shouldn't have trusted. And then now I'm at the point to where it's like, okay, I even to extend my campaign, because I promised a Christmas delivery, I put the printing on my credit card, right? So I didn't even wait until the campaign was done before I started the printing. You know?
Yeah, and so the reason I have to bring this up is because some people wonder, like, oh, well, why are these comic skate books going for like 20 to 30 bucks when maybe the equivalent at Marvel would be 10, right? But then
Right.
if we got 100,000 backers, we could easily jack the cost way down like that. But it's all scale,
Well,
And,
let me put it this way. Let's at scale. Okay, so like I really, when I started the campaign, I really was hoping that I could have done 5,000 books, right? If I had been able to do 5,000 books, it would have cost me roughly $1.50 to produce each book, which then I could have made a decent profit off of each book itself, right? Um, because I only printed 1,000 books total, 800 of one and 200 of the other. They cost me roughly $4.40 each to produce. So my profit margin was dramatically cut. So yeah, the more books we sell, the more we can, the more we can make. And then if as the community and the market that we're doing grows, the prices at the point of checkout, you might say, will obviously get smaller because people know they can make triple figures on a book. They can charge less for it. You
yeah,
know.
and on top of that too, this I don't know. Some people, and I've been guilty of this like way in the past too. They're not going to get the individual floppies. They say, "Oh, I'm just going to wait for the trade paperback," and because eventually, yeah, I mean, once you get the entire story arc, like chapter one in this case, collected, it's probably going to have a compilation released, right? And then
Yeah. Well.
that's going to be way cheap because all the work's already done. It's just printing and shipping costs.
Yeah.
But if you don't support early, then we may not get that far. That's the catch 22. If everyone's waiting for the cheaper collection, we're never going to get the cheaper collection.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna like let this out. I mean, obviously, I haven't really like broadcasted this on a live stream yet, so you're kind of getting an exclusive on this next campaign. I'm gonna do something that I haven't seen anybody do yet. All right, because I'm going to be doing this book in chapters, right? So there's going to be 6 chapters and then the compilation. I'm actually going to have a tier on every one of those campaigns to back the whole thing, where you can get all 6 books and the compilation. You know what I mean? And then plus all the goodies that happen, on throughout the campaigns together as a whole. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a combination of a crowdfunding approach, where you're waiting for the final graphic novel to be completed and have a copy of that. But at the same time, you're going to get each chapter shipped to you, in the process. So you're going to have every one of the floppies as well with covers, that are going to be individual for those, and then, so nobody's tried that before. I hope it won't flop miserably. To me, it seems like it's a kind of a good deal, because if you just want the floppy and you don't want to trust the long term, you can get just the floppy. If you want to wait, you can wait, you know what I mean, and watch it get created. If you want to back it and get everything, you know what I mean, and you can because you're backing ahead, you're backing the creation of the future books as well. I'm also going to have that way. Also gives me the ability to do things like put people in future book in the final big book, but they're in future chapters. And I'm also going to do some other cool things where you're going to be able to be drawn with your character of choice from the book. So.
Oh, so like a custom sketch tier or something?
Yes.
Yeah, we're not talking like inserted into the book. We mean just a sketch of you with the character. Yeah.
Yes. Well, you'll be there. There will be a tier where you can be drawn into one of the future chapters, but there's also going to be a tier where my illustrator will draw you with the character of your choice. Yes, and probably in selfie style. So.
Probably at a strip club.
Yeah, I actually that is one of my my ideally stretch goal tiers is the strip club poster. I want to do if and I want to do this where it's a tier that is got a long belated delivery, so it can exist on every campaign. But it will be like, if we can get all the campaigns together, get to this certain dollar figure, then I will have a strip club poster done with all the people that backed for the strip club poster. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah. So
No,
it'll
hopefully not as the strippers.
no,
Okay, yeah, just
unless they request it, but then I'll have to consider that. You know what I mean? That could actually, it'll basically, in my mind, they'll be hanging out at the strip club with Captain Luv and Barney, and so
nice. Oh, and then Alex 303, thank you for the $1. I appreciate that.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds pretty funny, actually. Yeah. And I'll be curious to see how that works out too, because I don't. There's a lot of things. I mean, most of this is new ground. So
Yeah.
I mean, if it works, it's gonna. I mean, like I think one of the reasons that both Ethan and Diversity in Comics, the reason they made as much and continue to make as much as they did, is because they were the first ones. Like they took all the risk. I mean, especially in Ethan's case, like his entire career was on the line when he launched Cyberfrog, when he did what he did,
Right.
and it paid off. But I think if they were only jumping on right now, they probably wouldn't have been nearly as big. So I mean, it pays off to be the first to show up.
Right. And they have huge followings.
They did
that
at
were
the time. Yeah.
well, yeah, that exploded from the Fandom Menace. You know what I mean? So they have like that whole Fandom Menace carryover, and they have an unprecedented supply of wholehearted, devoted fans that would buy anything that not every one of their fans is like this, but a lot of their fans would buy anything that they tell them to buy. And it's not because they like just dummy automatons. It's just that they trust them, and they love Ethan so much that Ethan said, "Hey, do me a favor and buy this." They would buy it if they had the money.
Yeah, and that's one of the things too that's one of the insurances against scammers, I guess. Like say when I finally launch Blade Devil next month, if that ended up being a scam and I just like took the money and ran, which by the way, even if it like what Zoe Quinn did with $85,000, is $85,000 worth never being able to get money again? I mean, maybe if we're talking $1 billion, I may have that temptation. Like, I could retire on this, but no. So if I did that, no, if I fucked over my fans, my customers, I mean, my online career, no matter where I try to go, is deader than Mundane Mats.
Let me just tell you, if Captain Luv, was at $85,000, you know what I mean? There would be no. I mean, obviously, I've already had the book done, but there'd be no way I would burn anybody. In fact, I would think, okay, the first book, $85,000. The next book, I'm hitting triple figures for sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just you sank 30,000 into the first one. If you got 85,000, that's you just think of how much better the rest can be. Yeah,
right. Yeah, I would take at least another 30K of that other 55 and put that right on the next project immediately, set aside. You know what I mean, to go. So it's it would just be about rolling it over into creating more people for fans. Hey, Vegeta, if $85,000 is chump change, man, I'm your chump, buddy. I'm just saying.
well, no, I mean it may seem like a lot, but after, 2 years later, now what? Yeah, that's kind of what I mean by that there.
Right.
Yeah, because especially that whole situation too. I mean, this is why people are paranoid. I mean, see, one of the reasons, like, I don't have any reservations bringing you on and helping you shill Captain Luv, because I have the book. It already exists. I enjoy. I mean, I did have a few. I mean, I pointed out the typo to you earlier. I mean, there was but then nothing. Some of the exposition felt a bit long, but otherwise, I really enjoyed the book. So
yeah, I know. There were reasons why I had to do things a certain way because I couldn't. I didn't have enough money to do it the way I wanted to. You know what I mean? If I could have had my way with it, it would have taken forever to do Captain Luv, and it would have been like a 300-page book. You know what I mean? So
yeah. I mean, so that's, but yeah, that's one of the reasons I'm okay bringing like you on is, the book already exists. I mean, I have it, so and that's like what happened. I mentioned this on Tug Stream, but like, that's what happened with Jim Sterling. He was one of the biggest shills for Zoe Quinn's campaign, and then she just took the money and ran. And now, do you think any of those people that trusted him are ever going to listen to what he says again after that?
Yeah, they're gonna think twice. That's for sure. They're gonna wonder, is this another Zoe Quinn? you
Yeah.
know.
Especially since I don't think he's even apologized for it. He's just trying to brush it under the rug. That's
Yeah, that a lot of people do that. You know, I mean, I would say that that honesty and is always the best policy. You know, I mean, it's like it's one thing if you know if you're just a general troll and you don't care about getting any respect or whatever, then whatever, lie to everybody, who cares? You know what I mean? But if you are somebody who your whole life rides on what kind of integrity you have, you know what I mean? Then you need to make sure that everything that comes out of your mouth is from the heart, or just don't say it. You know what I mean? It's just
yeah, no, and that's I mean, I I'm not as controversial as some people out there, which is why I can still exist on YouTube. But no, there we've paid for. I mean, my channel, I would just the yellow dollar sign plague has definitely found its way to me. So I'm that's the price you pay for being not being a shill. But Savage Chill, man, thank you for the $20. Hey RG, glad to see you on Tug Stream. Hey, I was glad to be there. Got here a bit late, but I noticed a new comic being discussed. Got myself a tier on Drew's comic to make up for missing for missing BD. Yeah. Was that Blade Devil? You didn't miss that. I mean, so won't be staying too long. But best of support for Captain Luv. Cool. So
Hey, thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. And I hate Captain Luv won't disappoint you, and then it's just gonna get better from here on out. And I'm sticking around, and everybody who backs Captain Luv and everybody who's interested in Captain Luv, seriously, find me on Twitter. You have questions for me, you want to be friends, just hit me up, man. I got a YouTube channel. We do right now we do horror talk on Monday nights, just because we like to talk about horror movies, because my friend Brian is like this horror trivia master. But I'm going to be doing more stuff that's comic book related, and there's a lot of things going on. So just I'm so happy to meet this whole new audience. I mean, I am grateful for this opportunity. I'm grateful for all of you in the chat. I am so grateful for Raging Golden Eagle here to hook me up with this opportunity to meet all you and to present Captain Luv to you guys, because Captain Luv is truly a labor of love. I have bet my whole existence on it. I bet all my savings. I have put a substantial amount of credit on this project. It is getting to the point to where obviously I hoped that I was going to make more money out the gate. But it's not going to stop me. I am pushing forward. Captain Luv is going to be something that will happen, and it will be big. So.
You only got two options if you're launching your own project, because I mean, just the artist I'm working with for Blade Devil, his work is way better than the vast majority of anything I've seen out of the professionals. But he wouldn't get picked up by anybody. So it's the same thing. Like, just because you have a good product, unless you get super lucky and word of mouth just spreads like wildfire, if you want to launch, because I know some people, I keep getting DMs too on Discord, people want to launch their own projects. You have to there's only two ways about it. Like, you either have to be in it for the long haul and just launch it, try to get on people's streams, try to shill it, realize it may be like 5 years before it really picks up if it's actually good. Or you need to do more like what I did, build up an audience first, and then like, oh, hey, you guys love big anime titties, right? Well, guess what I'm going to be giving you. And then, and that's see, that's another thing too, is not only that, because since I did it that way, if I were to pull a Zoe Quinn and scam my audience, I'd not only lose my ability to crowdfund again, basically, but I lose my YouTube channel too. Like, nobody would stick by me if I pulled that shit.
Right. You would lose your audience in a heartbeat because you would be untrustworthy. That would be a tragedy, man. Because you have a very loving audience. I mean, you have an amazing audience. I am proud to be sitting here talking to your audience with you, man. This is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, absolute worst case, if the book can't come out, like say something happens to me or my artist, I'll just eat the couple $1,000 and do refunds. Like, so that's and that's another thing. I mean, have a day job when you do this too,
Yeah.
That's why I can do it the way I am. I'm telling you now, no matter how much money we make, I'm not even going to take any of that money out until it comes time to actually print.
Yeah, the only people that can take all the risk like that on themselves, ahead of time, are actual illustrators, people who are the actual artists, the actual drawer, the actual drawer, the illustrator, them on the book itself. Those people, if they're going to write the book and edit, and do everything themselves, you know what I mean, they can take the whole burden. They can do it in their spare time. It doesn't cost them anything other than time. You know what I mean? So that's different. Those they are in a different kind of position than those of us who are on the writer side, the producer side, the creator side. We have to put up the money. We got to make sure it gets done. We got to think about the business model. We got to make sure it turns a profit, because we're paying our illustrator, right? So our illustrator is getting paid. He gets paid whether or not the book fails or succeeds. He's paid. He's good. And my illustrator is real happy. I mean, I'm basically, like an employer to him. He's working on another book right now. He knows that he knows how much he's been paid, and he knows what the book is making. So he knows that I still haven't even made back what I've paid him so far. You know what I mean? And he's still busting butt, and he knows what's going on, and he's a real cool dude. And I actually have a really good team. I found some really, really good guys. I mean, my third illustrator, but my first colorist, I think, it came out really, really good. So.
Man, no, thankfully it works out. So no, you found this guy online, I'm assuming, because he's in Italy, isn't he?
Yeah, my illustrator's in Italy. He actually found me, believe it or not, which I consider like one of those like universal blessings. I on LinkedIn, I kind of let it be known that I was looking for an illustrator, you know what I mean? And then I guess he found some old post I made about it and contacted me and said, "Hey, I'm an illustrator. You got any extra work?" And then we started talking back and forth, and he showed me his work, and I'm like, "Yeah, this work's amazing. This is better than the guys I had before." And I'm like, can we figure out a price that'll work? And we figured out a good price and a good system of payment. Basically, he can work on as many pages as he wants at a time. And then when he uploads them to Dropbox, when they're confirmed that they're done and he uploads them, I pay him for the page that same day. If it's 1 page, 10 pages, whatever it is, and when he's finished, when he's decided that he wants to upload them, he uploads them. So it works for him. I mean, he knows that I'm going to pay him, and I know that he's going to, get the work done, and I mean, and then the colorist is he really delivers well also. So I feel I consider myself blessed. These guys were not easy to find, but once I found them, I'm like, I told you, he found me on LinkedIn, which is just like obscure, right?
Well, I mean, I keep telling people too. Mostly, it's the exact opposite. Is I got people asking where to find artists. Like, well, they just go to where they post their work and ask. But that aside, Recato is actually going to start his stream in 3 minutes, so I think everyone's going to head over there. So, I mean, this may be a good time to. I mean, do you have any closing statements? Oh, before one last refresh, I think you're at 5,176. So
that is awesome. Thank you, everybody, so much, man. I am grateful. I am so grateful. Hey, everybody, don't forget Captain Luv. You're going to want this book. If you don't get it today, get it tomorrow and get it the next day. Follow me on Twitter, the Drew Luv. If you want my YouTube channel, the Drew Luv. And if you have questions, you want advice, you want to know, from somebody who's, done this the hard way on his own shoulders, you want some, like to run it by what I think that you're going to try and do, ask me. I am happy to share. Seriously, anything I can do for you guys, the community is about that. Us indie creators, it's about helping each other. It really, really is. So.
Hey, cool. That's good to know. So yeah, I mean, again, thank you for coming out and hanging out with me. I'm posting the links to Recato stream in the chat, so you guys can just move on over there seamlessly. And yeah, thanks everyone for showing up. And yeah, definitely, I enjoyed the book. I have it myself. I may pull it up on stream when I get my camera set up ready to go. I have to be real careful which I can't just flip to random pages with this one,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
you got to skip pages. I think it's 15 and 16. So,
Yeah, there be titties in this book, guys. So
yes,
nothing
yes,
else.
yes, indeedy.
All right, so yeah, I'll be seeing you guys tomorrow. So peace out. Enjoy the rest of your night. Go ahead over to Arcada. Links in the chat.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.